sometimes, a lot of times you see so many cheesy dialogue, and that really turns me off in a show. And I think that the writing was very well done, and it's things that you would actually say to somebody at a party, you know.
See, I thought this was kind of nice too, because it seems like everybody's in love and having a good time, but poor Jack, because, you know, Mikey Nemesek, who was one of our camera people, that was him and his girlfriend out there. And everybody seems to be having a great time, but poor Jack, he's been constantly crapped on. And now Booth, who came up and gave you the job, the offer of a lifetime, kind of comes out and tries to make amends with Jack. And
Jack, I wanted to let you know how much I enjoyed your performance again this evening.
I remember this night, Conrad here, who played Booth, was just the human blooper. He would knock stuff over. When he walks away, we shot the scene of him walking away about a half dozen times, because there's so many cords on the ground, you don't see it because we're shooting it a little bit high. There's actually about 20 cords all on the ground there, and he'd trip on them or pull the camera over or knock a light over every time he'd go to exit. And he handed him a real business card. In his private life, Clayton Booth there, Mr. Matt Conrad is a DJ, handed him a real business card for his DJ service. He just wanted to hand him something. I said, here, give him that. And he said, okay.
And then, of course, Jen is just kind of basically taking everything in, and, you know, just because she's brand new, she's taking all the characters in, and like Erik said before, she's kind of like a, you know, for the audience to get it to know. Because once the audience sees the first episode, then everybody knows who everybody is, so it's important to establish that. And this scene right here, we shot till 5:30 in the morning because it was storming, raining, and we had the lights outside, and then it kept blowing the bulbs out. And there was a lot of movement in the scene, and we were all very, very tired, so it took us a lot of times to do this. But I think this scene was very effective. I think it ended up being one of the better scenes.
I remember when we shot this, I wanted to get it done before dawn, obviously, before it got light outside, and we got it done about 5:30. It was getting to be real close to the wire, and you can see in a couple of shots Ted's hair. Every time that it would start to rain, since we were understaffed this night, Ted would run outside to kill the outside lights, and his hair looks fairly normal here. But on a couple of takes, he'd run outside, get drenched, and then he'd come inside and his hair's all wet and slicked back. But because it was getting so late, we had no time to stop. We had to plow through it.
Right. Yeah, I'm in a belly shirt, of course, whenever it's at nighttime and it's chilly out, so you kind of have to deal with that, so then it's chilly. And of course, in shoes, and especially women's shoes, can be aching on your feet, and doing it 900 times kind of gets frustrating. And I'm actually, those aren't even my clothes, of course, but I'm folding clothes that were just there, just as
somebody brought as a prop.
Somebody brought as a prop.
Yeah.
You unbelievable bastard.
And the good thing about this too is, I think he goes over and sits down here. You can see it's real noticeable. See how his hair's all greased back now? It's because in between scenes there, he went outside to change the light bulb that blew because it started to rain.
Kim, would you hold on a second? He came all this way and offered you...
I think this is a good scene between you two. You're supposed to be best friends and you have a falling out.
Right, and of course, he's looking at it as, you know, I'm getting this part because I'm a female and basically TNA. And I'm looking at it as you're insulting me, of course, because you're basically saying I have no talent and I'm just there just because of my looks, and that's it. And
no, you don't. You only care about me as long as I stay out of your...
Yeah, and he's of course upset because I'm stealing his big break, and he's used to having all the attention. So.
And this is his one moment to tell you how he really feels, and he chokes.
I just don't want to see you enjoy your life.
Right. So, and I'm almost waiting for him to say how much how he feels about me, and he chickens out. So
there's a lot of misdirection here. It's he's
the only regrets you have in life are the risks you never take.
That's a great line there.
Right there is the highlight, I think of.
I love how you deliver this. Watch this. You nail this too.
Great actress, Kimmy, but nobody becomes famous by strutting around in their underwear.
I thought that was good. You nailed that one. That look was awesome. But there's a lot of misdirection in this scene because, he's saying don't go to New York because there is no part. And you're saying, you're telling me no because you're jealous that I got the part. And he's doing it to look out for you, and you don't believe him. And I thought this was a nice ad-lib that he had the cup against the door and he's listening to the whole thing.
Even if without, just with following the lines of the scripts, all these positionings, all these added needs to be thought out, and I thought it was very well thought out. And the pacing is wonderful. One thing I can say about In Neon, the pacing is you don't get bored. It's not like, okay, let's move on to the next scene. The pacing is very well paced, and it cuts back and forth, so you're not bored with, you know, two characters. It cuts back and forth, and it keeps your attention, it keeps your focus. In a lot of the episodes I'm not even in because I'm supposed to be at New York, and I'm still, you know, very much interested in the storyline, and I'm not even watching myself. You know, I'm still interested in the other storylines other than myself, when a lot of times I'm not on the on camera.
Select the smell.
So I'm real excited, and then you know, but I'm also upset that my best friend isn't happy for me.
And he wants me in the production.
This was a very difficult scene to shoot because there was so many close-ups and wide shots and so much dialogue by so many people in a confined space, and people started to get on everybody's nerves, and they all wanted to get out of there. And it was a tough scene to shoot. That,
right.
You know, and that's just off the record. On the record, you know, all your friends are supporting you, but you nailed it. Your best friend is not.
Right.
And this was rewritten here, by the way, that Brett came down the stairs with the camera instead of Cleve, the filmmaker, and they said, well, he's in the can. And it's because he took a couple of weeks and he had to go to Los Angeles for certain things, and we couldn't stop. We had to keep going, so we rewrote it on the spot and said he wasn't available by saying he was in the can. It was actually became part of a joke.
I think it's funny, that hat I have, too, is actually my hat that I got at... I love, for people who know me personally, I love cowgirl hats. I love country music, so that was kind of like a personal touch. I was grabbing this, and this actually was a wonderful scene too.
I think
she says, "What about your friends?"
Yeah, what's more important than your friends? And that's another one of the underlying themes in this whole soap. And then we do this great big long forever dolly shot.
This shot was so incredible. I don't think there was a better shot throughout the entire production. It was just a wonderful shot. It was almost like, oh my gosh, the realization of I'm leaving these people, and they are basically, in a sense, my second family. And when I turn around. At first I thought this line was cheesy, but then when I saw it, the way it was edited, the way it was delivered, I thought it was great. And when I was watching this for the premiere, and I see this pan right here, I did get choked up, because it was like, you know,
you're leaving
I'm
your friends.
leaving these people, and I live with them, and
you're about to
I
change
love
your
them.
life forever.
Exactly, and am I making the right decision? And it really choked me up. And this is even real life.
And I love a movie when they say the name of the movie in the script too.
In Neon Lights, and then there's Jack, and
I think that's a great shot too. He's like, you know, he comes out and he's standing there like, "Are you really going to do this?" And you're like, "You betcha. See you later." Yeah, whatever. You know.
This particular shoot too, I remember I was not real excited. I had bad news that day from a professor that I wasn't doing well in a class, so I had been really upset
in real life.
And crying the entire day. So when I came to the shoot, I was not in the greatest mood and wanted to cancel, but everybody was there and didn't want to cancel. So my eyes are all puffy in that scene.
So I think that was good. It worked out for the best.
Kind of did work out for the best, because I was supposed to be real sentimental and upset there. But that was a rough shoot. That was a rough day, but we got through it.
And I like how he overacts there and says, "Oh, she's so gone." Well, my beer's getting warm.
Yeah.
You know, and he goes back inside, and this limo, we had to try shooting this several times. I mean, you know, people take for granted. They're like, they look and they see you getting into a limo. They're like, oh, they got a limo, but you know, it's a lot of money to rent a limo when you have no budget, and to get one for free. And to arrange a schedule for a huge stretch 24-passenger limo to be given to you is just... This was the third time we tried to shoot that scene, and we eventually got it, but it was just so much of a pain. In a deleted scene that we originally had, we shot it with my car because it was so frustrating that we couldn't get that limo. I said, let's just shoot it. We can't... It's really frustrating to set up a scene to shoot, and then something happens and you have to cancel it. And I said, let's just plow through, use my car and say that, you know, he's just going in a private vehicle. But with the limo came through at the last second, and it made this scene all the much better.
It made such a difference. I'm so glad that came through.
And Ted's never smoked a day in his life. Put it in like a cigar, you know, and that's one of the other little jokes that go on throughout the course of the soap opera is he always tries to have a cigarette and something happens. They're either destroyed or they whip it out of his mouth or they're wet or drenched. And I think that's kind of a nice little joke that he never has a cigarette the entire soap, but he's supposed to be a smoker.
And of course this is the last look between us, and I say I'm upset, but that I'm leaving, but I'm upset that he didn't give me his blessing. So I just look at it as like, well, I'm going anyway, and I'm gonna be a big star.
Yeah, and then this line here, Jack delivers it and says, well, the truth of the matter is, there really is no role for you. And he explains that the production that he's supposed to go off, that you're supposed to go off, has a cast of all men. And originally, when we wrote this script, before we actually started shooting it, you were supposed to go to New York and be a failure. And you know, whenever we started shooting it, I said, you had the idea of maybe expanding your role, and I liked the idea because I thought you were so incredibly talented that I'd be a fool not to have you in it. And I mean, I remember you changing my head,
Thanks.
changing your mind on that, and I like some of the stuff we wrote with you. And as you can see, Ted's goatee is almost gone. And then, of course, you wrote some scenes later that we shot where you make an appearance and come back, and it's good stuff. This was actually the second night of shooting, and these two, this went on to Almost Dawn as well, because Cindy, Mary, who plays Cindy, is a method actor, and if you do not motivate her in a real argument, like you just can't deliver your line, she has to be in an argument to make it successful. And I kind of like when he opens up his big mouth here and realizes, he admits that he does like you, and she hears it, and he's like, ugh.
Yeah, so this is like the worst night of his life, and he keeps sticking his foot in his mouth on top of it.
That's funny. There you see Ed dancing, and all of a sudden he has his full beard back. Mark
That David Letterman was so funny.
That David Letterman I actually got when I was working at Channel 7 in Wheeling. I brought it with me, and it's been with me ever since. I loved it.
Hey, everybody, pay no attention to them. Jack is...
Mikey Nemisek on the stairwell there, he had come down. We stuck him everywhere. He was out on the lawn. He was coming down the stairs.
Okay, so let's get back to the music, shall we?
And of course, it's funny because now, you know, Jack is realizing he has feelings for me, but he let me go without saying it. So, for all you guys out there, better open your mouth.
That's right.
Because I may have stayed if he would have told me something different. And there's Dustin. He was a crew supervisor too, and he reappears throughout this thing.
Yeah, he's kind of a running joke. It's fine, Dustin. He was our head supervisor of crew, or whatever you want to call it. And he appears occasionally throughout the soap. Now, these photographs on the wall are really Ted's. Whenever we were putting everybody's own rooms together, you know, Ted was supposed to be the theater major. And Jack, or Ted, who plays Jack, is really a theater major in real life. And those are actual photographs of his performances that he had done prior to working on the soap opera. And he finds your photograph. And this is kind of an important moment, too. And he finds it, and he's so jacked at it, and he rips it in half and says, "To hell with her." And later on,
guy move.
Oh yeah, and then later on, you know, it's the eternal problem. He keeps putting your photograph up and then taking it down, putting it up and taking it down, and he rips it in half. And then later on in the series, you realize he does have a heart for you because he tapes it back together. This coming up was the first on-screen kiss that I had ever shot, and that was ever done for the soap between these two characters. And it was difficult. It was also, this was the first night of shooting. And Cindy and Cleve did not know each other from apple butter. And it was like, all right, you two, kiss. And while you see it on TV and you see it in the movies, it's really difficult. You know, you go up to a complete stranger, and it's extremely humbling. Mm-hmm. You know, especially, you know, but you just gotta. It's like learning to swim. There's no better way to learn how to swim than just getting shoved in the deep end of the pool. You'll swim. You know, it's like you just got to shove your head in there and kiss her, and then when it's over with, I'll never forget Grant, who plays Cleve. His eyes were like, "Oh my God, I kissed her."
And then that developed an off-camera romance between these two because of that for a little while. Mm-hmm. And But it's I actually was fortunate. I told Erik, you know, if at all possible, I do not want to have any type of intimate relations as far as kissing or any type of those provocative scenes, if at all possible. So that's another thing I liked about my character. It didn't require me to do that.
Here's some interesting anecdotes. Now, Bree is standing here at the doorway, and there goes Dante, who just walked by. Some of these extras are actually just people we picked out of the crowd, and she's supposed to be eyeing up Brett on the stage. And you see all these people passing back and forth. There goes Dante again. You know, Dante's supposed to be up on the floor dancing around. That's the first time they meet, which kind of leads on to, if you look down here in the corner, the girl with the hat, that's actually Bree, who plays Jen. But we needed a body double that night for a party scene. And, you know, that's some of the secrets, you know, of what goes on.
And it's kind of like, ooh, I guess everybody's hooking up at this big party. It must have been some kind of bashful besides Jack and I.
Yeah, I think everybody is familiar with. They've gone to, you know, that college frat party or whatever, and they've either made the mistake or done something that they may have regretted. And these two hooking up, and this kind of defines Laura's character too. Everybody thought after the first episode, they're like, oh, she's going to be the troublemaking bitch. You know, because she's listening to this conversation. And, you know, she kind of is, and that's the beautiful thing about her character is there's a transitional period between her nastiness and her hoe-bagness to what she turns into by the end of the series.
And, of course, she wants to get the dirt now because she knows that they're on the rocks, Jack and her, so she wants Jack, so she's trying to listen in on what's going on so she can nab him up.
Yeah, she wants to see if Cindy will slip up here and make a couple mistakes. And she got a little bit more than she bargained for.
He used me, Cleve. I don't want to be controlled by men anymore.
Another important point about Cindy's character is that she's supposed to be very dependent on a guy throughout the throughout the soap, and she's supposed to, she's the first person in her family to graduate from college, so she's very dependent, and so she feels the need she always has to have a boyfriend. And I think everybody knows a female in their lives that is like that, and can I certainly identify with that, so there's always that one person that always feels they have to have a boyfriend no matter what, so
and she witnesses it.
Right, exactly.
She got a little bit more. And this was the first screen kiss.
His friends are always the most frustrating, too.
And now she's getting this. And Dante said, what do you want me to do? I said, act like Stevie Wonder will be kind of cute. And that's the important thing. You know, everybody's having a great time, and everybody's supposed to be having this great time. And
he's still up there with that broomstick. It never gets old.
Oh, no. You could watch Jared or Brett forever acting like an ass on that table, and he just does a beautiful job. You know, you're not really sure how to take that. So now the point of this whole deal is all the chess pieces are in place, and the party wraps up, and we kind of do like a slow-mo thing here. I thought this was kind of nice and effective because it kind of makes you realize how important it was, you know, when you're in college. You know, you have all those wild and crazy times and something you don't want to forget. And a lot of times you don't forget that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. This is just even looking back, you know, a year later and looking at this, it's like the memories that you take out of this is unbelievable. And
I like that transition there. It's like at the height of the party and how much fun you can have, that's the price you pay.
Right.
So I was talking, I said, well, all the chess pieces are in place now. You know, you have all these things that happen at this party, and now you have to deal with the aftermath. And this is what launches the entire series, you know. Not just this scene, but everything from that party and how it transpires throughout the next few episodes.
4 a.m. after a party when Mark takes this lawnmower up to Brett's room and starts, like, mowing his rug.
And I think every college party has an interesting story like that that's just totally
There's always
outlandish.
somebody throwing up in the bathroom.
Really?
Not I. I lived a more conservative college life, but I've seen some crazy stuff. But that's what it's all about. I mean, and the memories here are just I just can't get over this. How true this is. If somebody doesn't, has never experienced the college life, this is what it basically is about for the most part.
And it's funny, I remember when they turn this corner and Laura's trying to put Jack into bed, he's supposed to stumble into this end table and knock this lamp over. And the funny thing about it is, the first couple of times the lamp wouldn't fall. He'd hit it and it just would not fall until that time. And it was
one of those things. And then, of course, now everybody's like, whoa, is there any kids in the room? Because then you think to yourself, oh, is there something going to happen? And then you're like, oh, I'm sitting next to my parents as I'm watching this for the first time. And you're like, oh, is there something you can get the drinks? Because you really, unless you don't really know what's going to happen.
You don't want to sit there next to mom and dad, and you're like, look what I'm a part of. Well, that's the one good thing about Indiana. A lot of this is implied, and we don't...
Right, it's implied, and it's something where everybody can watch, and that was a big concern of mine. It's like, if you see soaps now are very, very promiscuous and very risque on television, even daytime television, and it's and you're not getting paid for it, and this isn't your profession. So I mean, you have to watch scenes. In my opinion, I didn't want anything, kind of like that, because like I said, you gotta show this to mom and dad at the end of the day, and your whole, not only the whole college campus that knows you and sees you in classes, and asks you, oh, I love in neon, but you got all those people seeing you, and you have all the people then outside viewing areas that are watching it too. So I'd get a lot asked, oh, you coming back, and ask about so I really didn't want to have a promiscuous scene here. And then right here you're thinking to yourself, oh no, are they going to cross that line or not? Yeah. And at this point I did not know. I wasn't sure. I hadn't read this part in the script.
Well, I thought this was kind of a nice scene for Laura, because you look, and then when she walks up and she's looking over Jack, like, you think, oh yeah, she's like this big dominatrix kind of, and she crawls into bed and you're thinking, okay, they're going to cross the line. I can't believe it. But the interesting thing about Laura's character that isn't really developed, but it's just touched upon here, and I mean just touched upon, is she lies down to maybe start something with Jack, and instead of doing something, she thinks about it a second and she just goes to sleep. As evil as she is, and as promiscuous as she just wants somebody there for her.
Right, and she just wants somebody to love her.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing about her, and that tenderness of that scene, is she just wants somebody there for her, and she lives her life the wrong way, thinking, well, I can do that by sleeping with a guy, but...
Right, and everybody knows that somebody like that in their life, too. So, again, everybody's identifying with all these characters and the storylines, because everybody knows that, and that makes people want to watch. And the characters are just so interesting. And I like this song because this is in Neon, performed by Elton John, and I just love it. This montage here, because I think it just really sums up the first episode, and it really gets people hooked. I cannot tell you. I mean, when I was shooting this, I had no idea how many people would actually watch this, or I probably would have taken it more seriously. but I had no idea what a big craze this would be, and the amount of people that would. And I don't think anybody did, and I don't think anybody thought it was going to be this good. I mean, really, if you could put this up against anything that we do here, even at CUTV or any college production, it doesn't. Nothing is even in the ballpark. And I work, and everybody else works on a lot of productions here, but I mean, this actually just steals the show, and it does for a television station and just everything in general. I mean, not too many college campuses have ever pulled something like this off, and if they have, it hasn't even been to this magnitude, and it's not because I'm in it, because like I said, I didn't take it that seriously at first when I was shooting it, and when I saw it, I was so amazed. I was so amazed how well it was done.
I think I was too. I just...
It really was.
Well, I like this montage too, because it defines a lot about their characters and how they're all moving in and getting settled in. And you wonder, I remember somebody said, why did he walk over and kiss that Dale Earnhardt poster? I said, you'll learn why later on.
Right. So now there's all these plants, and now people are like, okay. And then, of course, they're like, okay, well, what's going to happen next? Or please tell me you got a preview what's happening next week,
And like I said, I remember I did an interview with some local newspaper, and they're like, well, who came to the premiere that night, and they're like, well, what was the purpose of the first episode? And I said it before. I said it was just to set all the chess pieces in place to play the game. There wasn't really anything happened. I mean, there wasn't really. You had a couple of arguments here and there, but nothing really happened. It's just putting the pieces in place to play the game. And you have, you're on your way to New York. Ted's fighting, or Jack is fighting with Cindy. You learn about Brett and his drug business and how people owe him money and how he kissed Cindy and you know who did what to who and you put all these pieces in place for the next episode. You know, and there's a reason they call them pilot episodes. This was not made as a pilot, but pilot episodes are made to give an example of the possibilities of what you can do with future episodes by putting the pieces in place like we did here.
I love how this was directed, how he was sleeping before and now his eyes are open, so you know he's thinking real hard here.
He's thinking about he's thinking about Kim, you know. I think, and he's like, he looks over at Laura and he says, well, you know, I'll just kind of go back to sleep here, and that's okay, I don't mind. I
remember too the audience, the premiere it was just absolute silence, and I really love the shot too because it was wonderful. It really,
it's funny.
Was wonderful.
We're showing the limo there, but that's actually the inside of my car.
Right. The reaction, doing the reaction shots and driving around California for.
And everybody said they loved this last shot. I think it was nice, too. We got lucky. We had the sunset in the background just at the point where it's nighttime.
Oh, it was wonderful. It really was. It left everybody just absolutely speechless because I don't think anybody expected to see something of this caliber when they walked in. They thought, oh, it's another student or CUTV production, and then they're like, whoa, this is actually really good. And that was just a wonderful
That was one of my favorite parts. It just everybody was floored. If everybody would have clapped at the end of that at the premiere, I would have been very disappointed.
Yeah, it was silence.
And instead they were just silent.
And then everybody loves the previews. Everyone's like, quiet, because previews, you know, because everybody just, every episode is just totally glued on this. And it's like, it's almost impossible to walk down the street without somebody asking you what's going on with the neon. So it kind of took a lot of us, you know, over our lives. And I think that recognition and all the hard work that everybody put into it really paid off because the people really responded to it.
Yeah, and it's funny, after I'm watching this now for I can't tell you how many times I've seen this first episode, and I'm looking at the previews there, it's like I can't believe how far we came and how we kept it interesting with cliffhangers every week. And that was really the key, I think. I think the key to these kind of shows is having a really decent cliffhanger. And it's hard because when we wrote this, it was only supposed to be a 6-part mini series, and I hate that word mini-series because it makes you think of this mega production told in multiple parts, but it's just a mini-series, a small series that was only going to last 6 episodes, but we kept adding things, and the more we added, the better it got, and we expanded it from 6 to 12, and you know, and now it's multiple episodes. I'm not even sure how many we have right now, but you know, that's one thing you forget about, is because you have to have a decent way to end it, a good cliffhanger that'll make you tune in next week.
Right, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and every cliffhanger has been better than the last, it seems. I mean, it really has, and I can't believe how you get those cliffhangers to go right on the hour, because you also have to take into consideration that this has to be an hour show with everything, and you have to have the cliffhanger happen right at, you know, the 59-minute mark. So my hat's off to you, because I probably would have thrown the thing through the wall, but at that point, if I had to edit this, I think I'd kill myself.
It's hard, and I'm not taking the credit for that. I gotta, you know, what makes the cliffhanger good or memorable is the fact that the people who are on screen pull it off, and that's the whole bottom line of the production like this, is that everybody gets an education. And yeah, it's a great show, and I'm very proud of it. But I think, you know, the bottom line to everybody is this will prepare you for later on in life, you know, getting out and doing something. Yeah,
and as I said before, it's watching this, you know, it's like these memories are priceless. They really are. And watching all this and knowing that we all have it, you know, and even the people that we met on this, because like I said, we had auditions, and yeah, and like I said before, Laura Jess really nailed that role. I don't think that you know, anybody could pull that off as well as she did. I think Dante, who played the blind character, was fabulous, and Brett was fabulous, and it's just they just really just well casted, very well casted, and it really showed through.
Well, that was our commentary for this first episode. I'm sure there's more to come. I want to thank Amber McDonald, who plays Kimberly McCabe, for joining us and for this commentary today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, well, again, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.
God bless.